Hi everyone! New art journal video. Well, not so new. The page itself is actually quite old. So I'm starting with one of my Prima art journal pages, and this is golden gesso, and I used 2 layers of golden gesso. I cut out the footage of the second layer for you. You're welcome. So now I'm just using masking tape, and I'm using one piece to kind of measure so that way they're equidistant from one another. So essentially that one piece keeps getting moved and moved and moved while I put down a new piece of masking tape. And these are going to serve as, shockingly, masks. Who would have thought masking tape could be used for that? So I want to say this is Utrecht paint. I want to say it's aquamarine, I think. And I just sprayed it down with a little bit of water and just brushed it over the whole thing. Now I didn't, and I'm using my towel to blot some of it up. I took it over to the sewing machine and sewed along all of those straight lines. Now it seeped underneath the masking tape, so what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting off the ends of the string, and I had hot glued the backside. So as you can see, I got this really cool like nautical theme going, but then I was like, oh, I want to change it. I want to go vintagey. So I grabbed from my quinacridone nickel azo gold by Golden and a little bit of glazing satin fluid, and I just covered the entire thing. Now you have to be careful when you're doing this, because if the colors you mix, like if I did that on top of purple, it probably wouldn't have been so good. So but the quinacridone nickel azo gold turned that blue a really pretty color. So then I used a baby wipe to pull up some of the nickel azo gold, and just to distress it a bit. I think the black stitched lines are my favorite, and the blue kind of seeps out of them, so it's not like perfect. It's just really kind of rustic and vintage. I love how this came out. So, and that was pumice stone distress ink. As you can see, I just swiped right over the top. I got sick of trying to use the blending tool. Now, using one of my Tim Holtz like honeycomb stencils, I am using the, what are those things called? Neocolor 2 watercolor crayons, and I am just going straight through the stencil with them, and then using my finger to kind of smooth them out a little bit. As you can see, I started going a little bit faster up at the top. You just need some of that pigment to come off. Even if it's on the stencil, that's fine. Once you use your finger to rub it in, it'll come off of the stencil and blend onto the paper. So, and it's giving this really kind of creamy background texture without a whole heck of a lot of effort. So I actually really like this technique, and it's right on top of acrylic, so it stayed pretty well. Obviously, if you were to get it wet, because these are water soluble, it would not be pleasant, but that's okay. I've already got distress ink on there. So this is the dot fade stencil, and I'm using walnut stain distress ink and just adding a little bit more visual texture in the background. And this is burnt sienna, I think, or raw sienna. It's one of the siennas by Golden, and I just watered it down and spattered some on the page. Now this is this really old picture, and as you can see, it was matted, and I was like, I just don't like this matte, and as soon as I picked it up, it kind of started to crumble, so it's like, oh, well, I guess it's going to come off of the matte anyway. So the cool thing is that it just kind of peeled apart and left behind the picture, which worked out nicely, and now it's kind of 3D, so hooray. This is what I call homemade washi tape. It's just medical cloth tape, and I distressed it with distress ink, and I store it in this little book. I'm going to slow down the video and show you the book in just a second. So this is the book. I just made it using Tim Holtz binder rings, and this is all grunge board that I painted with Mod Podge. And the Mod Podge prevents the tape from sticking, so you can wrap it around everything, even though that's glitter paper. So if you make homemade washi tape, you can store it that way. So again, just Mod Podge some grunge board. The Mod Podge acts to keep it from sticking. So, and let's see, and you can keep running it around itself because tape doesn't really stick to itself, so that's nice. So I am using some Tim Holtz stamps, and this is a flourish stamp, and this is archival ink in sepia. Figured we were going grungy, let's go grungy. So I did it in the top left corner and the bottom right corner. And then using a dictionary stamp, this is from Viva Las Vegas Stamps. It's got Aleene's Tack It Over and Over on the back. So I just used my hand to stamp it to not get a perfect stamp. And now using black archival ink, I am stamping the sentiment. So I sped that up really fast for you because that gets tedious. Okay, so this is the back side. Because I had sewn through the paper, it had essentially perforated that paper. Even though the thread is there holding it together, I wanted something on the back to keep this page together because it was kind of curling, and so I used Mod Podge and this deli paper on the back just to give the front of the paper some strength. So let's see what's left. This is the pen nib stamp by Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to run this up and down the left side of the page. And then right around the edges of that photo, I am using sepia archival ink just to darken it up a bit, and then I just smushed a little bit on just to make the color of the photo blend better with the color of the page. So there's a still photo, and here's some fancy new part of my program that I just found, and it creates this super fantastic whoosh effect with your photos. So that's what we're going to call it, whoosh effect. So I hope you like this page. This little boy is kind of creepy, but it was all about how being young at heart is the key to being truly happy. And that's the truth. Be young at heart. So go do something young. Be stupid. Be silly. Alright guys, talk to you later. Bye.